I think the Western developers specifically know what players want and specifically do not give it to them. So Legendary drops a video. Let's jump in. They're taking over games and nobody stands a chance.
I need you guys to make sure that I'm not losing my mind, that I'm not seeing things, because from my perspective, it looks like all the games the players are the most excited for, the ones that they're enjoying the most, the ones that they're talking about the most, the games that have been the most successful outside of a couple of outliers. I'm not saying that it's all of them, but they're all coming from the East. Elden Ring, Palworld, Tears of the Kingdom, Armored Core.
Wow. Actually, wait.
Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, Black Myth Wukong, Space Marine 2, Marvel Rivals, Final Fantasy.
Wait, Space Marine 2 is Asian? I'm surprised by that. I guess because I've only seen, like, people who look Western advertise it.
And I already know that I'm going to enjoy Stellar Blade once it releases on PC. Now, I'm not saying that...
Wait, he didn't play the PlayStation version?
All Eastern...
I love Stellar Blade, though. I played the whole thing. I believe the playthrough's on my channel as well.
Games are great and all Western games are bad. No, there's definitely there's a handful of good games in the West. Believe me, I put 400 hours into Baldur's Gate 3. But with that said, the list is very short on the Western side of things. And I think this is something that the vast majority of the industry doesn't want to discuss, especially games media, because, well, it means that they're losing relevance.
I think it's interesting because I believe, was it Andy Cortez from Kind of Funny? I believe he's the one who said that, like, I don't know, Western developers were like making all the games or like something like that, and were mad, like, I don't know, other people besides like white or like entering the gaming space, even though Asian people have been always in the gaming space, creating like a lot of the biggest IPs that, you know, we know and love. Like some of those he just mentioned, like, you know, Resident Evil and what's that, like the Solid Snake stuff. I believe, yeah, Smash Bros. I don't know, a lot of, I don't want to go on a whole long list, but you know,
extension Western media then loses its relevance as well. There's been a cultural shift over the years where players are not being prioritized, but these Eastern studios are prioritizing those audiences, and as a result, because that cultural shift doesn't happen over there, well, they're taking advantage of a situation.
Well, I do notice that a lot of Asian developers aren't kind of bad mouthing the people who play the game. They kind of just cater towards the people who play the game. You know, the would-be audience. Because I see a lot of Western developers on Twitter saying like all kinds of like stuff and like, you know, political stuff that could like divide an audience. While Asian developers don't like mention anything like that, they just, you know, from what it seems, just want to make a good game and want to cater towards like the fans. That's it.
Situation, and they are,
and I think that like contributes to that, you know. That contributes to some of the popularity and, you know, being excited for a lot of Asian games.
Skyrocketing in popularity. They're gaining more players, they're gaining more influence, and more importantly, they're gaining more money, which makes them a major threat to the rest of the industry. We're talking about heading towards a world that has a heck of a lot more Black Myths and Marvel Rivals and a lot less Dragon Age the Veilguard and Concords. That's not good for a lot of people in this industry, I'll tell you that right now, because, well, as these Eastern studios continue to be successful, as they're...
I mean, that's good for the players, you know? Because, you know, you got better games.
Able to produce way more games than a lot of these Western studios because of the financial position many of them are in. Well, their investors are going to turn around and ask them, why are you doing that? They're going to say, well, we can't.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. 100%.
But before we get into that, Monster Hunter Wilds is right around the corner, and with it is coming some of the craziest PC specs I've ever seen required. So you guys could use today's sponsor.
Well, let me skip this since, you know, Monster Hunter Wilds. I haven't even tried, I haven't even tried the beta of Monster Hunter Wilds, but I've seen people play it and stuff. Well, I mean, segments. So let me skip. Maybe here.
I'm walking through China's cultural history, experiencing one of the oldest.
Oh, actually, wait, maybe back. Right here.
Between games made in the East and those made in the West, and I found myself enjoying more Eastern games
This is
more
Mecha.
and more. And I know that I'm.
Is this Mecha Break? I don't know. I feel like the Mecha Break mechs are cooler. This is not Mecha Break. It's probably Armor Core, I bet.
Not alone. You don't have to look that hard to see the difference. Eastern games are thriving while Western titles are drowning in complaints, controversy, and creative stagnation. These studios and publishers get it culturally.
Oh yeah, that's also true. That a lot of the controversy from Asian games comes from like Western publications. Like for example, the Black Myth Wukong controversy was from like IGN, and from God, what was the one who like made the review saying that Black Myth Wukong didn't have enough diversity? I kind of forget which the publication's name who like said that. But yeah, a lot of the Asian game controversy comes from just like review sites, not from like players themselves. While a lot of the Western controversy comes from the players being dissatisfied on, you know, potentially like political opinions of the Western developers or like staff, you know, someone who works for them, or the Western staff bad mouthing the players, like in some way.
They get it. They understand what players want, and they're delivering it without compromise. I boot up Monster Hunter, Black Myth Wukong.
Or it's like, you know, both, where they'll say like, I don't know, like all Trump supporters are this, or like, you know, stuff like that. Which you never hear Asian developers say, like, you know, things like that. The smart thing to do would just like never to give your opinion on something like that. Like, and there's really no reason to, because you are a video game like developer or staff. It has nothing to do with your job, and in some way you represent the company, so you kind of put the company in a position where it would be more advantageous for them to kick you off the project because you're just bringing controversy. Honestly, a lot of companies should like force you not to say anything about stuff like that, since you represent the company to some degree.
Final Fantasy 16, and it feels like peak is the only thing that they care about. They want you to experience something that is unforgettable. They want you to be blown away by the scale.
Was that Final Fantasy 14? Well, I guess maybe without all the UI elements. I feel like it usually doesn't look that good when I see it.
And raw excitement. I'm tracking down monsters and I'm fighting them and crafting armor out of their bones in Monster Hunter. Their developers painstakingly research ecology to make sure that they can create a realistic ecosystem that feels alive, while at the exact same time, they're not making that their only priority. They're also delivering stylized combat that you'd only find in anime. I'm walking through China's cultural history, experiencing one of the oldest stories ever told, and fighting literal gods in Black Myth Wukong. I'm experiencing political upheaval and a world-ending crisis in Final Fantasy 16, but every moment builds to something bigger. The stakes, the music, the sheer unrelenting spectacle. I go from trying to find the truth to fighting a dragon in space that is about to unleash a laser to destroy the world. Then we look at games like Ninja Gaiden, Resident Evil, Stellar Blade, an entire industry of gotcha.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I believe the Ninja Gaiden, that was probably an official release, I think. I don't think it's a demo.
Juggernauts unapologetically delivering cool, badass, and attractive characters. These studios are not afraid to give players what they want. Whether it's
you can kind of tell if it's an Asian game, depending on how the character looks like. If they look attractive, you like instantly know it's an Asian game, 100%.
Over-the-top action, ultra-stylized designs, or characters that are as powerful as they are attractive. Western games, well, they've been moving in the opposite direction. The androgynous, desaturated, corporate-safe designs that plague Western titles, nobody's asking for that. Certainly not the players, certainly not women. I see countless 2B cosplayers, but, you know, I haven't seen a single person willingly dressing up as Abby from The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh yeah, that is true.
So I guess we might see some Concord cosplays this year. You know, it's not just the aesthetics, it's the priorities. Eastern Studios.
That's a good point.
are focusing on the player experience. It seems like the only thing they actually care about. They're not obsessing over realistic sweat physics in a first-person shooter. They're making sure that the controls feel incredible. They're not wasting time on irrelevant tech demos. They're refining gameplay mechanics to perfection. They aren't ballooning their budgets to insane proportions for the most useless things. They aren't trying to be Hollywood. They're trying to be video games. I've been replaying Armored Core 6, and it's one of the most visually stunning games that I've played. But here's the thing. It's not chasing photorealism. It's designed in a way that tricks you to feel like it is. You're so immersed in the gameplay, so locked into the experience that you don't care about environmental destruction or ray trace reflections because the game is so damn good that you don't need those things. Then I go back to Western AAA games, and what do I get? A checklist simulator, a tutorial that assumes that I've never touched a controller before, a protagonist that will not shut up, constantly telling me what to think and what to feel, a game world that exists only to make a point, not to be explored. And their obsession with open world bloat, because why make a game feel big when you can make it look big? Western developers want to force you through a message. Eastern developers want you to lose yourself in the experience. They are holding your hands
that was a good point.
through a painfully self-important narrative filled with stiff, corporate-safe writing. They're letting you engage with a world that feels alive. Eastern games are just built different. That's why they are dominating, and that's why they're going to continue to dominate. It's going to make it harder and harder for a lot of these Western studios to be able to stay relevant. Now, Japanese games being popular isn't anything new. In many ways, Japan is what built the foundation of modern gaming. If it wasn't for Nintendo dragging the industry out of the gutter in 1983, well, we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation. But we're not just talking about Japan. It's China, it's Korea, and beyond. Apparently, nobody took notice that...
Yeah, a lot of, yeah, you could definitely see, like, for example, China gaining a lot more, relevance in the gaming industry with something like Black Myth Wukong, and then now they're releasing, what's it called, like, is it like Wu Chang or something? The sort of, like, Souls-like, another, like, Souls-like Chinese game. I don't know the exact name, but that's, like, another game, people are excited for.
2024 featured an entire wave of Eastern studios stepping into the AAA space, shaking up the industry, and forcing Western studios to confront the reality that they're not the only game in town anymore. And I noticed this shift when I saw historically mobile studios start to step up into the AAA premium game space. Take Granblue Fantasy Relink. This was a game by Cygames.
Oh, he's talking about this. I thought he was gonna mention like gacha games. Because, you know, there's games like Genshin and Wuthering Waves, which are, like, super popular. And they're making, like, a ton of other open world gacha games, which are, like, you know, making massive amounts of money and becoming, like, massive IPs on their own. Like, Genshin at this point is, like, you know, it's very mainstream, really.
A studio known for gacha games like Granblue Fantasy and Shadowverse. Why would they...
God, Granblue Fantasy. I remember I used to play that all the time. But, man, there's just so much grinding in Granblue. It's Grindblue Fantasy. I think most people put it as, like, the grindiest gacha game. It's like it or, like, FGO, probably. It's, like, one of those. It's probably Granblue Fantasy, though. Because you have to go grind the grid, do raids, and, like, there's so much dailies to do, it's pretty ridiculous.
Suddenly decide to make a AAA, full production, full-priced game unless they knew it was a smart investment, unless they saw an area of opportunity. Turns out they did, because Granblue Fantasy Relink sold 1 million copies in just 11 days, and it has still continued to sell, and the players loved it.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I never played that because censored. Censorship sucks, so yeah, no way. And the funny thing is, Versus is actually not censored. As Relink is censored, but Versus isn't. So I'd be more willing to play Versus, even though it's a fighting game.
Happened again with Stellar Blade. Shift Up, another gacha.
I mean, maybe if it appears on like PlayStation Plus, since, you know, in like the catalog or something, I'll play it. But yeah, definitely wouldn't pay like $70 to play Relink. I mean, I'm sure it's less than that now since it's been like, has it been a year or like 2? But still, it shouldn't be like the full $70.
Focus Studio jumped into AAA gaming, and the result, another massive success. A game that sold over 1 million copies. It's likely to outsell its PlayStation numbers entirely once it actually launches on PC. Modders are going to have a field day with this one. Then a first-time Chinese studio delivers a AAA cultural masterpiece in Black Myth Wukong, a game that shattered Steam's concurrent player records and sold 20 million copies in 1 month. It was bold, visually stunning.
Oh, that was insane.
Deeply rooted in mythology, blending diverse storytelling techniques and cinematic cutscenes, and had exhilarating combat that just kept you hooked. Its tight linear progression and light yet meaningful customization stripped away any necessary bloat. It just offered a pure, content-rich experience that pulled you in and refused to let you go. And who could forget Palworld, allegedly made for under $7 million, reaching 25 million players with 15 million copies sold on Steam.
Wow. Oh yeah, I remember Palworld was so huge when it came out. Because Pokemon's like dropping the ball. I kind of wish Digimon got these like numbers. Like hopefully the new Digimon game does really well. Because I want Digimon to rise.
A game that crystallizes just about everything players have been asking for, what they've wanted, the freedom that they've wanted. Finally, we saw the release of Marvel Rivals, storming onto the scene with stylized characters, great gameplay, killer performance, non-intrusive monetization, and overall just a fun experience.
Man, I wish I was better at this game. I mean, even though I can reach like gold and stuff, but man, I want to retry it.
Players that helped the game reach over 600,000 concurrent players on Steam with over 20 million downloads across all platforms.
Oh yeah, wait, the last time I checked, after like the new update where they released this thing in Johnny Storm, I believe it was around like 400,000 something in like a 24-hour period on Steam. It's pretty crazy.
The success of these games, the shift is undeniable, and it's not slowing down. 2025 is already shaping up to be another massive year for Eastern developers. Monster Hunter Wilds is going to explode, potentially breaking over 1 million concurrent players on Steam. I could easily see it. I mean, Monster Hunter World quintupled engagement across the entire franchise, so there's no telling how far this new entry can go. Players are already excited for Phantom Blade Zero, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, Light of Motrium, and Tides of Annihilation, all made by China.
Oh, that's what it was called, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, okay. Yeah.
Chinese studios stepping up to steal the show. And after seeing all these successes and the engagement that I'm seeing from the players, how excited people are for some of these games that are coming out, I think that Eastern studios have figured out what Western gaming has refused to accept. That the layoffs, the cancellations, the flops aren't because gaming is dying.
Oh yeah, that argument was always stupid. It's just because bad games are like dying, that's it. Like any game that's good is actually like doing well, despite like any controversy, really. I mean, most Asian games don't have like any, like I said, they don't have controversies outside of like publications trying to push a controversy on them. Like the staff doesn't say anything like wrong, and they don't like attack the players or anything like that, unlike like the Western companies. So it's just like publications not seeing like enough diversity or something, and like, you know, docking points for that, or like being mad at like one side of the culture war, and you know, stuff like that.
Players aren't leaving games, they're leaving Western games. They're seeing an industry that's at war with its own audience. They see the greed, the arrogance, and the creative bankruptcy, and they're stepping in to, well, take what Western studios have abandoned. And I think that the industry is threatened by this, and they should be, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I did a reaction for this. I'm excited for this game. All this Arthurian legend stuff very much reminds me of Fate, the Fate universe.
With you, I mean, look at the way that games media reacted to some of these releases, because while Stellar Blade reviewed relatively well, it wasn't without controversy. Heck, they actually had to write an article to tell everybody, why is Stellar Blade so controversial? Are attractive characters unrealistic? Female beauty standards in gaming need to evolve. I'm sorry, but saying that beauty standards need to evolve is like saying that gravity needs to be more inclusive. You can try to change reality all you want, but people will always be drawn to what they find appealing.
I mean, the truth is, most of those people who hate on attractive female characters are just like insecure themselves. and are trying to they're trying to like push their message, trying to push their message, while people who make attractive characters just want to make what they want to make. They just want to make an attractive character, and they know like the audience likes attractive female characters, so it just makes it makes sense like to make them, like there's no reason not to play into that.
That's it. And then came Black Myth Wukong, and that's when they absolutely lost it. Developers not responding to the accusations that they made up, not responding to their headquarters being vandalized because of the accusations they made.
Oh, geez, I didn't know it was vandalized. Wow.
Not answering questions about inclusivity in a game about a monkey.
Yeah, that was good that they never responded to like this nonsense.
That's when it became painfully clear. The industry is terrified of these rising Korean and Chinese studios because they can't control them, so they attack them instead. The only controversy surrounding these games was fabricated by media outlets desperately trying to reinforce their own narrative and their
that was basically what I was saying.
Own worldviews. And it became laughably obvious once reviews started rolling in for Black Myth Wukong, with multiple critics slamming the game for a lack of female characters and diversity, not realizing that women played a key role Act 3 and beyond. I brought this up before.
Yep, I remember that article.
I think I showed it off in one of my last videos, but it still blows my mind that Inverse would straight up call anyone who bought the game Chinese nationalists and anti-woke. Let that
that one wild. And also, if Chinese nationalists and anti-woke people are getting so many sales, wouldn't it only make sense to cater to them then? Like, if anything, that just shows that the anti-woke and I guess Chinese nationalists have, I guess, huge power in your industry. Because Black Myth Wukong was like one of the best-selling like games, so
that sink in. Look how detached from reality media has become. Fun action game, no political messaging, monkey with the big stick go bonk. Yeah, that's fascist. This is about an industry that is panicking. Western publishers and media have spent the last decade trying to dictate what players should want, and now it's backfiring. Eastern studios aren't arguing with their audience. They're just giving them what they want. Hell, I just saw that Marvel Rivals had planned to do mid-season rank resets. The players said no, and Marvel Rivals just said, oh, okay, that's fine. I think that's what a lot of the industry...
Oh yeah, I was actually surprised that happened. Not surprised Marvel Rivals did that. But yeah, probably the right decision. I mean, I'm not that high ranked, so it doesn't affect me that much. Maybe the people who are like Eternity or like the one above all or whatever, I mean, they are affected. They don't have to rank up as much.
Has gotten away from not what games should be about, not what games should be, but who games are for. Eastern studios, pretty much across the board, are just doing a better job at recognizing what players want and are giving it to them. That's what you need to do to succeed. A lot of Western developers and media are just so caught up in today's events and politics.
Well, I think the Western developers specifically know what players want and specifically do not give it to them. They make sure not to give it to you and make sure you know that they specifically did not give it to you.
That they're forgetting that players are playing games to escape from that. Eastern games are thriving because they're not chasing trends or politics. They're chasing timeless experiences. They're crafting worlds that players want to revisit years from now, not just ones that are going to give you Twitter engagement for a few weeks before fading into irrelevance. Just the topical nature of Western games is already a death sentence. I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, I played Borderlands 3 a few years ago, and the entire time I was playing it, I was like, dude, nobody's going to remember any of these pop culture references, any of these cringe jokes or anything like that, because it was just so modern day. It was so today for that game when it released. And I'm like, people aren't going to remember this stuff. I was thinking about Dragon Age the Veilguard. Do you think 20 years from now, somebody's going to pick up that game and go, what's this about? What are they even talking about in this? Eastern studios have just been so much more consistent. They don't have any of that extra bullshit that's in there. We just see the normal complaints from them. I think that's another thing to think about as well. When you think about some of these Eastern studios, the vast majority of controversy that surrounds them is the normal stuff. Day one performance, patches, expansion content, microtransactions.
Yeah, there's no extra BS attached to like any controversy that like an Asian game is in, you know.
want to go back to those days, man. I'm getting sick and tired of talking about some of these issues with some of these Western games. You don't see their developers, their mentally ill developers going on Twitter and having a meltdown to keep their politics and their opinions out of their games and out of the public eye, and they just focus on doing their job. They let their games do the talking instead. And oh man, their games are talking. You know, it's been a while since I've done a review. I need to do a review. I've been playing Armored Core 6 again, and it is insane how good that game is. It's absurd how good that game is and how little spotlight it got. The players that love...
I actually don't know the sales of that game. But I know there's, I believe they released a bunch of Armored Core games for the PlayStation catalog or something. I'm not sure if 6 is a part of that or not. I know it's at least the previous ones. But yeah. Do I keep going with this video? Because I could just like... I don't know, I feel like most of the points have like been addressed.
Loved it. They loved it. The players that don't haven't played it yet. It's so beautiful, but they don't do anything like trying to make sure that I can...
I kind of want to skip ahead. Let's see.
Made a AAA game before, yet they produced a title that sold 20 million copies for only $43 million.
Wait, reportedly cost... Oh, wow. I actually didn't know it was so cheap. 43 million? Because with the way Black Myth Wukong looks, you'd at least imagine it would cost like... at least like 100 million, you know? I mean, I guess it is an open world. And, you know, open world probably bumps up the price quite a bit. But just the way it looks like so polished and everything. 43 million.
Given the average salaries of Shift Up employees, Stellar Blade costs an estimate between $40 to $50 million. Now imagine what these studios can do once they gain some more experience, more funding, and a deeper understanding of the global market. Unlike many of these Western AAA
I'm excited for Stellar Blade too.
Studios, which have been floundering despite decades of experience, these new developers aren't starting with bad habits. Religious or political imagery, no blood, suggestive themes, or excessive brutality. This isn't just speculation. Western companies have already censored themselves to stay in the Chinese market. Blizzard suspended a Hearthstone player for supporting the Hong Kong protests. Hollywood studios regularly...
I don't really have anything to say about it.
Call me an idealist. I think that China's success in gaming might actually lead to a crack in that armor.
I mean, I think we've gotten over most. Mine is good enough. People not buying their games. Gamers are not leaving Western games for recent games. Gamers are just not buying bad games and choosing to play good games. That's actually true. The good games just happen to be, you know, mostly like Asian games. But yeah, this was a good video from Legendary Drops. I mean, if you want to watch his videos, subscribe to him. And yeah, I guess I'll peace out.